My grandfather is an Arcturian. My grandfather is an Arcturian. I learned that recently. I've been reading about the Arcturians and learning about them and just kind of piecing together different parts of the Arcturian history and the Arcturian mission in my life and what's true for me and what I'm here to do. And I was thinking, yeah, I'm this starseed. I'm like a generational healer, and it never occurred to me that my grandfather, who was born in 1906, it never occurred to me that he was from Arcturus. That didn't even cross my mind. How do I know? Well, I was reading, like I said, I was reading a book about the Arcturians, and I've been getting intuitive guidance from the Arcturians, just little bits and pieces here and there for a couple of years, actually. And I heard in my head, your grandfather is an Arcturian. I'm like, what? My grandfather. And I was like, Granddaddy Theodore is an Arcturian. I'm like, what? So then, like a couple of days later, I was looking at this video by Julia Balaz, and I'll share her information in the show notes. Julia Balaz, and she does galactic astrology. She also was a quantum healing hypnosis technique practitioner like me, and so she moved into doing galactic astrology, and it's really interesting. She was talking about the similarities between herself, her mother, her grandfather, her grandmother, and her daughter, and that's when I realized that you can look at astrological charts and learn about your parents and grandparents and their history and how it relates to you and how you may have picked up things from their history in your life because of how the planets are aligned in your chart. You relate to that same issue differently. So her example was about communication, where one of her grandmothers had difficulty communicating, and then her mother became a little bit better, and now she is a really great communicator. So that issue was processed through the generations. That was one example. Then I went to her website, and I have to put that in the show notes, and I pulled my grandfather's chart. Now, I don't know exactly what time he was born, but I do know the dates and the year and the place that he was born. And even though I don't know exactly what time, so that means I don't know his rising sign, I see similarities. I saw similarities because I don't have any planets related to Arcturus in my chart, although I have gone to a life in Arcturus. When I did my Quantum Healing Hypnosis Technique gift to myself for my birthday last year, I went to a life on Arcturus. It was a life as a sort of a cross between a bat and a squirrel. That was my life on Arcturus. And so, I had the life, I had pulled the chart and I had the life, and I really hadn't really bought into it. I hadn't really assimilated that information yet. I've read that it sometimes takes about 9 months for humans to assimilate information about their galactic history. So I, this year, almost like clockwork, as I was nearing my birthday, I'm starting to do more and more research and getting intuitive leanings and doing more and more research. And I pulled the charts for my mother, my father, my grandfather, my grandmother on my mother's side, and my two brothers. And I see that we have similarities. We all have, and I don't know exactly how the planets interact yet. I'm still learning that. I may get a full reading from someone at some point, but I saw similarities to the planets that are in our chart, the galactic planets that are in our chart. We all have galactic center, a lot of galactic center. All of us have at least 10 inclinations, or 10 times that the galactic center shows up in our astrological chart. Still not sure exactly what that means. I know they said when some people who've come from galactic center, excuse me, came from the angelic realm. And I know I've had a life where I was a spirit, sort of a deity at one point that I've recalled. So anyway, but I'll talk more about that another time. So we have a number of planets, the galactic center, Lyra, Orion, Centaurus, although my grandfather doesn't have any Centaurus. I have a lot of Centaurus. And other people in my family have Centaurus as well. But my grandfather had several planets in Arcturus. So my grandfather is Arcturian. I don't know if, he said that he was Arcturian, and so, maybe his soul, I don't know how that actually works, because I read that Arcturians at one point had a colony here on Earth. I believe that colony, or one of the colonies that they were associated with, was Lemuria. But don't quote me on that, because I'm piecing together bits and pieces from different sources, and then just kind of trusting my intuition and allowing myself to be guided to learn more. What I've learned as I've listened to different people talk about planets and listened to or read different books, is that people, not that I can't say that their information is wrong, it's just that they maybe recall different pieces of the same thing, so different pieces of Lemuria. I've read several books, and each book brings in different pieces. So I can't say for sure that wasn't correct. One of the things I did learn about Lemuria, excuse me, is that it might still exist. I did a quantum healing hypnosis technique session with a woman who said that if you meditate on Lemuria and you think about it as something that's dead, then that's what you get. That's the information that you pull from. But if you can embrace the concept that Lemuria may still exist on some other plane, or in some other dimension, or in another way that maybe we don't know about, then you can connect to live information. The person I was doing the regression with, actually, her higher self said that she actually has a current role in Lemuria. And the role is something that I didn't know what it was, so I couldn't really repeat it to you. But so I think that the Arcturians and the Andromedans developed Lemuria as a colony on Earth. What I read, and with the Arcturians, is that the Arcturians were forbidden from reincarnating on Earth. As of the early 90s, they had been forbidden from reincarnating on the Earth because the energies of the Earth had a tendency to make them sink into their darker aspects. So their elders forbade them from incarnating on Earth again. So I'm not exactly sure how it is that my grandfather is an Arcturian and he incarnated here on Earth. I'm not exactly sure how that works. I guess maybe the soul wasn't from Arcturus originally, but maybe had an incarnation there. Or maybe our souls weren't initially from Arcturus, but had a life on Arcturus. Anyway, I'm not sure. I sometimes hesitate to talk about my galactic history because I'm still learning, and so much of it is, to me, still not concrete. And maybe that's really the truth of who we are. Parts of us are multidimensional and not actually concrete, that we can actually put our finger on and say, okay, this is me, this is not me. So interesting. It's interesting, and I wanted to share that. Your ancestors, family, maybe from other planets too, or have had lives on other planets. And you should find out. I'll share the link. All right, that's all I have for today. I was just so excited about that and wanted to share. And I'll look forward to connecting with you soon. If you would like to connect with me, I'm at Sanaa, Sanaa Green, Green.com. And I am an ascension guide. So let me know if I can help you. Peace.